Hi, Jamie with UK Extension, and it's a little early, late winter actually, very early, kind of creeping towards spring, but we're going to talk about a very common lawn problem today, and that would be crabgrass. I brought you out here to see some of the dead crabgrass from last summer, and obviously it's decomposed and largely gone. But I can show you that this is kind of typical yard or lawn that has thinned, and we have encroachment from other weeds, and that is one of the primary reasons crabgrass can become established. Crabgrass is an annual weed. It dies every year, but it is the seed buildup that starts the cycle over. So we need to stop that seed from germinating. Enter something known as a pre-emergent herbicide. Pre-emergent herbicides are usually granular. They can be applied over the lawn, and they will stop many, if not lots, of seeds from germinating. They don't actually stop the physical germination of the seed, but when the seed starts to grow a root or a radical, they will stunt and halt the growth of that, which can result in the death of that seedling before it becomes an established plant. So how pre-emergents work: once they're on the surface, they must be watered in, either by rainfall or with you in the hose, but I'll be honest with you, it takes at least a half an inch of rain to get those things activated. That needs to happen within 24 hours after application, and that's a tremendous amount of water to try and put on by the hose. It's almost impossible. So this is what they do. They actually dissolve in the water, and they will turn the top half inch or so of this soil into an inhospitable place for seedlings to germinate. So you've just got a very thin layer on top that keeps those weeds from coming up. Because it's a pre-emergent, it stops nearly all seeds from coming up. It'll also stop grass seeds, so you would never in the same season use a pre-emergent and sow grass seed. It's simply not going to work for you because your grass seed won't come up. So another important thing when you go to look at the litany of options you have as a homeowner for these crabgrass preventer products, you want to make certain to select one with no fertilizer attached. We've been educating you guys for years that spring fertilization is not good for our cool season grasses. It's better to do that in the late summer, fall window, more of a September-October window. So we want to make sure, it's a little harder to find those without fertilizer, but you want to make sure you track them down, because you really feeding this the wrong time of year will benefit the crabgrass more than it will your actual turf grasses. So once these are applied and activated, they have a residual. Most of the commonly available ones are going to be effective for a period of about 60 to 110 days. So we're looking at somewhere between the neighborhood of 2 and 3 months. Pay attention to the particular chemical you're using because it does vary some. But the seeds that are in the soil are not all killed by the pre-emergent, so there can be later germination. If you fail or haven't been not successful in the past, it could be the watering in, which is critical. It could be that you haven't gotten good coverage, or it could be that your pre-emergent simply stopped working and crabgrass sprouted later in the spring. The ticket you want to look for, we always get lots of calls about when to apply crabgrass preventer. It's not 100%, but one of the best rules of thumb here in central Kentucky is when the yellow forsythia bushes are blooming in the landscape. You know, those bright yellow shrubs that are one of the first things to pop. Before those go out of bloom, you want to get your pre-emergent herbicide on. So for us, that's usually sometime between late March and early April, depending on the weather. But crabgrass preventers, they can be a real benefit to controlling an annual noxious weed in lawn situations. But keep in mind, thin turf is why this happens. So if you're having increasing crabgrass problems, you may simply need to renovate in the fall. So if you're doing lots of crabgrass prevention now, come back in the fall, do your seeding in that August window, and thicken your turf up so you'll have less weed competition.